So as we continue on in lesson 1.4, now we're starting to solve equations that not only do we have to deal with the, more than one step of work to do, but before we even start the solving process, we have to do some simplifying. And so that's why we took a little sidestep and did some practice simplifying algebraic expressions in the homework for today. So there's two types of simplifying that we may need to do. One of them is combining like terms. So you're going to look to see, are there any like terms on the same side of the equation that can be combined?
Oh, yeah. The 8x and the 5x?
Okay, but we're not quite to that one yet, but you're right. Those, when we get there, that they are on the same side. So remember, we did combining like terms on the simplifying algebraic expression today. Give me some examples of like terms.
X, Y, and W.
Okay, wait a minute. Can x be added to y?
No.
No, but if you have some x's and some other x's, can they be combined? Are they considered like terms?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. How about constants? Are they like terms?
No.
Such as 7 and -3. Can they be combined?
Yeah.
Yeah. We can also combine constants together. They're like terms. So one of the things we're going to look for are there some like terms that can be combined on the same side of the equation? And the other thing we're going to look for is there any distributive property to do? Because if we have some distributive property to take care of, we need to do that before we start solving also. Okay, so we are going to look for those, one or both of those things, see if either of them need to be done. Sometimes maybe even both of them need to be done before we can go to work solving. Now, listen really carefully as I'm going through this about when are we actually simplifying and when are we actually solving. Because we cannot be, when we're simplifying, we don't do the same thing on both sides of the equation. We just do it on that side. So on this one, we look to see, are there any, first of all, I often look first of all to see if there's distributive property to do. Is there any distributive property to take care of in number one?
The 21 and the 13.
No, is that distributive property? What is distributive property? What did we learn? That was last Friday. Multiplication over addition and subtraction. This would be distributive property. Something that looks like this. 4 times n plus 2.
No.
Do we have any distributive property to take care of in this equation? No, we don't. So now we're going to look to see do we have any like terms we can combine. But before we do that, we're going to change it to an add the opposite problem. We're going to get rid of the subtraction. So 8x,
Plus
instead of subtract 21, it'll be plus a negative 21.
Plus negative.
Instead of subtract 5x, it'll be plus a negative 5x. And yes, we're going to change all subtraction to add the opposite because I guarantee you have watched students do this long enough. I know they're more successful with these equations when they do. Okay. So now we're going to rearrange it so that like terms are beside each other. So we're going to put the 8x plus the negative 5x first in our equation. Algebra likes to let any terms that have the variable in them be first.
Plus negative 21.
Plus our negative 21. So all we're doing is rearranging the left side. So on this step we did change subtraction. And on the next step all we did was rearrange. We've really not even done any simplifying yet. Now in this next step, we're going to combine like terms. Our like terms are right here. What's 8 plus negative 5? 3. This would become a 3x, wouldn't it? Plus a negative 21 equals negative 15. So notice, we only did that on the left side. We didn't have to do that on both sides. We're just simplifying. So we basically right now simplified. That's what that step was. We simplified it, getting it ready to solve. And, nope, no, I don't think so. Next thing we're gonna do is, what it does actually, right? Now we're gonna start to solve it. Do the same thing on both sides. What's our first move here? Now we're to the multi-step equation. Okay. Now, this might look a little confusing. You might think we have to subtract 21, but we have to add because it's a negative. So when there's a negative number being added, we add its opposite. So we add the opposite to both sides. And we now have our 3x by itself, which is a goal. And what is negative 15 plus 21? 6. And our last move. Kane, head up. What's our last move? Sit up.
Division.
What's our last move?
Me?
Yeah.
Divide by 3x
Yep.
on each side.
We don't want to divide by 3x. We only want to divide by the 3. And because then the 3's will cancel, the x will be by itself, which is our goal, and x equals 2. Okay, so we started, the actual solving process actually started right here. Here's where we were solving because we were doing the same thing on both sides. So sometimes we have to do some simplifying, some changing, some subtraction to add the opposite, maybe some rearranging, getting it ready so it's ready to be solved like we know how to solve a multi-step equation. We can get it down to being a 2-step equation. Anybody got questions about that one? Okay, then let's go on and look at number 2. What do you think our first move should be in this one before we even start? Rose?
Distributive.
Okay, we're going to do distributive property after we do another move. What do you think it is,
Right.
Brighton?
Take 3 minus d.
And do what with it?
Put them together.
Well, we can't put them together. They're not like terms, so 3 cannot actually be put together with d. Isaac?
Rewrite it
Rewrite it as what?
as a multiplication.
Not quite yet. Emerson?
It would be 3 plus negative 1.
Thank you. We're going to rename that expression, changing it to add. We can stick a 1 in front of the d, so we're going to make it a negative 1d, and then continue the rest of our equation. So we're going to change our subtraction. Remember, we did this in our work for today. Before we even did the distributive property, we took care of subtraction because that's where you're going to go wrong in your distributive property is not if you have a subtraction there. Oftentimes students mess that up. Now we'll do distributive property. Are we ready today to do the multiplying without showing the multiplication step? How many of you think you're ready to multiply without showing it on your paper? Negative 2 times 3. Okay, if you're not ready, then show it. It's negative 6, isn't it? Okay. Plus negative 2 times negative 1d. What's that?
2.
2d. Yeah. And then our equals 4.
Add 6 to both sides.
Okay, now what are we going to do to both sides?
Add 6.
Add 6 to both sides. Now we're ready to solve. So we're doing the same thing on both sides. And we now have 2d by itself. And what's our other side?
10.
10.
Equals
And what's our last move?
Division.
Divide by
2.
2. And our solution is?
5.
5. D equals 5. Okay, any questions, concerns about that one at all? Okay, and let's go to the back side. Or in this one, you're actually going to have to do both of them So let's just do one thing at a time though, and the first thing we're gonna do is change it to a addition problem. So it's gonna be 2 times x plus 2, that's already addition, no need to change that. But now we're gonna change this subtraction to plus a negative 4x. So remember, distributive property simplifying will usually come first. So we're going to do the distributive property. What is the result after we do our multiplying?
2x and
2x.
4.
2x plus 4, because we take the 2 times the x and the 2 times the 2. And then we bring the rest of the equation along. Yes, Payne?
I just have a question.
Mhm. Pardon?
Does x in the end equal 20?
I don't know yet. I don't think so though.
I did it and it works out that way too.
Let's see. So we're going to do a rearrange problem now. We're going to put these x's together at the front of the equation because they're like terms. The constant follows. So all we did is just a rearrange step. The x's are like terms, let them come together at the front. What do we have here? What's 2x plus negative 4x?
Negative 8x.
No, we're not multiplying, we're adding. Negative 2,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
negative 2x.
I just saw the x.
Are we done getting it ready to solve? That's all we've done so far. Do you realize that's really all we've done? We've done the change subtraction to add the opposite. We rearranged. Did the distributive property, then we rearranged. Combined like terms, and now we're finally ready to solve. Where we do the same thing on both sides. So what's going to be our first move?
Divide by negative 2 on both sides.
Plus
We get rid of the addition or subtraction first. So negative 2x equals 40 take away 4. What's that?
36.
36? Now we have to divide both sides by negative 2.
Negative 6.
Negative 18, wouldn't it be?
Oh, yeah.
So the negative 2's cancel out here. We have our x alone. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. And there are 18 2's in 36. So that equals negative 18. Okay, so sometimes you're only going to have to do one simplifying step. Sometimes you're going to have to do 2 simplifying steps like we did here. We did distributive property as our first one. That's what we were doing right here. And then we did combining like terms here. So we had to do 2 simplifying steps and then we were ready to solve it. Anybody got questions before we do that last one? And then we get to work on homework. Okay, then let's do, when we have to set up our own equation, you're going to have to do that today. Write and solve an equation to find the value of x in the triangle shown. Well, we have 3 angle measures given to us, 35 degrees, 57 degrees, and 2x minus 4 degrees. And we know that if you add up all the angle measures in a triangle, what do they have to add up to? 180 degrees. So we should be able to use the fact that we know that if you add all 3 angle measures together, they should be equal to 180. So we should be able to set up our equation. Let's start it like this. 2x minus 4, doesn't matter who starts. All 3 of them have to be added together. But those parentheses are important for the moment. Plus 35 plus 57. All 3 of them have to add up to 180.
Couldn't you just add 57, 35, and then subtract that number from 180?
Yeah, that is exactly what's going to end up happening. So, are these parentheses important around this 2x minus 4? Do you see anything that we would have to do to be able to get rid of them? What do you think? If there's anything we would have to do to get rid of those parentheses, is there a number out front that they need to be multiplied by? Or a negative sign out front that we need to worry about? No. So in reality, we can just ditch those. And let's, when in the process of ditching them, let's change it to an addition problem. And finish writing the rest of our equation. So do we have any simplifying we could do before we start solving this? Rose? Oh, I thought you had your hand up. You doing? Okay, Brighton?
Add 35 plus 70. 57.
How about, is there another number that can also be added together with 35 and 57?
-4.
-4. So let's just add all these guys together. They're all like terms. They're all constants. Okay. Well, what is 35 plus 57? 72. 72?
No.
Oh, 57. And 37.
Okay. What's 57 plus 35? Anybody happen to know?
Oh, 92.
92 plus a -4. So it's like you have $92, you give $4 away. How much do you have left?
88.
88. Okay, so 2x plus 88 equals 180. We are ready to solve. What are we going to do to both sides first?
Subtract 88.
Subtract 88.
Bless you.
2x is left over here. And what do we have on the other side? We have 180 and take 88 away.
92.
92. And now we're going to get it so it's 1x by dividing by 2. 46.
Ah,
Now we go back up and make sure though we have to find out what the question was. Did they ask us to find the
46
angle measure or the
degrees.
measure of x? What did they ask us to find?
The value.
The value of x in the triangle. So are we done? Did we find the value of x?
Yep.
Yeah, it's 46, isn't it? Okay.
But
So,
don't we need to put it to degrees sign?
but we don't really need to put the degree sign on this one because they weren't asking us to find the angle measure. They were only asking us to find the value of x. And the angle measure would be 2 times 46, which is what? We just divided something by 2 to get 46. What's 2 times 46?
92.
92. And 92 take away 4 is?
88.
88. So it really is an 88-degree angle, but that isn't what they were asking us to find. They were just asking us to find the value of x.